What's going on, everybody? This is Joel with another edition of Random Thoughts. So, we are a few weeks removed from Big Brother Canada season number 6, and what in the world? What is that? Oh my goodness. I didn't expect guests at this random hangout all of a sudden. Why, hello, who is it? It's Ali and Olivia, the Ding Dongs. What's going on, guys?
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing just fabulous, thank you. So we had a few technical difficulties. We're able to sort it out, and now we are back up and running. It always happens. We're all former Big Brother Canada contestants, so we know all about twists and turns along the way. They follow us wherever we go. So for everybody who is tuning in, we are live on a Google Hangout. If you guys got questions, feel free to send them in. I will monitor the chat room as much as I can. But let's start off with Liv and Ali. So I want to start with Ali. Well, I guess both of you guys were kind of really on the hot seat early on in the season. So before that, I want to ask Ali first. Getting your key into the Big Brother Canada house, what was your strategy going in?
My main strategy going in is that I wanted to just find one person that could be my ride or die throughout the entire game. I knew that I had a strong social aspect with my personality, so I knew I was going to have no issues making friends. But it wasn't about how many friends. It was more about just having that one friend that I could really solidly count on throughout the entire course of the game. And also be adaptable. I know that, like you said, there's lots of twists and turns, this and that. The power's always shifting. So I wanted to be adaptable and just be able to kind of be a chameleon and move with the moment. So I'm very happy and fortunate to say that I found that in my fellow Ding Dong. And for the most part, other than not winning anything, which was not part of my strategy, most of the things went according to plan. So
now, before we move on to you, Olivia, I have a special little, I didn't tell you this ahead of time, Ali, but I got a special little clip. You've been talking about how much you and Liv have clicked, how tight you guys are, but you also had some very kind words for a certain house guest, a past house guest. So listen to this.
Uh-oh. I can't hear it. Oh.
Right.
They literally were like.
I agree. Joel was a cutie. So, right? Like I don't need affection. I don't need anybody to need approval from anybody. So I didn't just take that clip and put it on Instagram and everywhere. No, I didn't do that. So, Ali, question: if myself and Olivia were in the middle of an island needing a drink of water, and you can only give us a drink of water, you can only give one of us a drink of water, who are you giving it to? The cutie or your donger? You're the ding, right? And Olivia's the dog. Is that right?
That's a tough question. If we were all in the middle of an island, I'd probably take the water myself.
Yeah,
but if not, I'd split it. I'd give you each a sip. How's that?
Liv, are you good with that?
She would say, this is what she would say, big brother mine. I'll have to decide once I'm in the moment.
Accurate.
It's a tough decision. There's pros and cons to both of them. I don't know which one to go about. All right. Olivia, we'll start with you because you seem to be a target really early on in the game, but then you kind of seem to find your footing from what I saw after a few weeks. So why do you think people were so threatened? It was such a talked about thing in the first couple of weeks that you were a marathon runner, and you got to watch out for those marathon runners that will run so hard. Watch out for them all. Why was that such a big threat to people? And do you regret saying that?
Well, I want to be clear about one thing first. Is I never said I was a marathon runner. I said I love cross-country running, and I've done running I don't do it as much anymore. I mean, you can probably tell, but I used to do it a lot in the past. But my thing was that I find so funny is that I was supposedly a threat, which I didn't find out about until after I was out of the house, obviously. But my strategy was to lay low, and then I find out that week 2, people are trying to get me out, and I'm like, oh, cool. But I think what happened was Paris. I believe this is right. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. This is just what I heard my family saying. Paris and Ryan were the people kind of spinning stuff, saying like, oh, she's in law school, she's a marathon runner. All of bits are true. Like, I want to go to law school and I do like running, but they just amplified it and then used it to make me a target, is what I think happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And from what I saw too, especially from myself having been in the game before, you use anything possible. Levita won our first head of household, and like we literally knew each other for like an hour or so. And all of a sudden she was like this huge comp threats that we had to watch out for. But there was only one competition. So I think it's one of those things that like when you're in the game so early on like that, you try to think of any logical reason to target anybody at all. And I guess that was like an excuse for yourself. So since we're waiting on Ali for a second here, I'll ask you, Olivia. So I guess Ali, you were the first one that was nominated. You were put in hell when so I'm trying to remember. Liv, were you in hell as well, or were you safe for the week? You okay? So then I'll go to Ali. Ali, going into that HOH competition, were you trying to win it, or did you think that you were good with the other people that could be head of household?
No, I was definitely trying to win it, which is why it was so devastating when I lost. And not only when I lost, but when I fell first. Honestly, I said this going into the house in my pre-interviews, and everybody that knows me back home knew that grip strength is not my forte at all. I am a personal trainer and I am strong physically and athletic in a lot of other ways, but grip strength is one of my weaknesses. I was actually training that a bit before coming into the house just for myself. But again, when I found out, I really didn't have a lot of time. So going into that, I really wanted to win it, but grip was not my strength. So it was really devastating. And I was really worried because yes, again, socially I'm strong, but that was day one, and there was only 7 people or 6 people to choose from as an option to be nominated. So I was really, really worried.
So Olivia, what was it about Ali that made you guys click so early on, and somebody that you wanted to see as maybe not necessarily a ride or die right away, but somebody that you wanted to work with early on in the game?
You know, people keep asking me this, and I feel really awful that my initial answer is I can't put it into words. It's just a feeling you get when you know that you can trust someone. And I had that with Johnny and Erica as well. Not as strong, but I had it with them as well. And I think you can tell that no matter what happens, like Ali, Erica, and Johnny and I, we always ended up like trusting each other, even if we didn't work with each other the entire time. But in terms of Ali, I just felt like I could trust her, and we couldn't be more different, but for some reason it really works, and we just got along, and it was just, I knew that I could trust her till the end.
In the hypothetical world, though, Ali is up against Rosina in week number 1. In the world of hypotheticals, we saw Hamza, we saw Andrew, both of them fighting really hard, perhaps unnecessarily so, and it kind of came to cost them in the weeks down the road. But they were the ones trying to flip the house to get Ali out instead of Rosina. So in a hypothetical world, Olivia, if Ali is somehow evicted in week number 1, who becomes the ding to your dong? No pun intended.
I honestly think it probably would have been Erica and I, or Erica, Johnny, and I don't know, maybe the 3, or just Erica and I, because Johnny at that point was still like flip-flopping a bit between different groups, whereas like Erica and I had a really good connection as well.
Yeah. And there would have been no ding-dongs, okay? It would have been something else, but it would not have been the ding-dong.
You would have been just pushing the doorbell, but then your finger would have been stuck and you wouldn't have been able to like move it back. It would have been like a really bad clown trick where it's like you're stuck there and then you're electrocuted, but you can't move back or anything like that. You're just stuck there.
Yeah.
Stuck there in painful ding limbo. The worst of all pains. So you make it through unanimously. Any doubt on your and Ali, when it comes to eviction, that maybe there is a small chance you might get evicted, or did you think it was pretty solid?
Not week 1. Week 1, I was feeling really, really strong. Week 1, it's so early in the game that I think people are thinking more, whoever the bigger threat is somebody that I want to keep in the house. I think whoever the bigger threat is, it could be a potential ally, or it could be somebody will focus on before me. So I felt very confident, again, with my social abilities and the fact that people wanted to either align with me or keep me to, you know, shield themselves that I wasn't going anywhere.
So then you make it through. Week 2 comes around. We get that really brutal HOH where there was some really there's always some really revealing answers with some of these HOH competitions, but this one was especially like really heart-wrenching the way I saw it. So Liv, what did you think of the head of household competition? Did you think it was a little harsh, some of the questions?
I thought it was harsh, but at the same time, you can't take anything in that competition to heart because we only knew each other for like 3 days before we answered those questions. Also, they explained like it's majority. So like that means even if only 2, because I got most likely to have no one come to my funeral.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, what did that mean? How did that make you feel?
I mean, I honestly did not care because Derek even told me afterwards that he voted for me as one of them as like a joke. And then it really only takes 2 people if everyone votes for someone else. I mean, it was brutal, but I thought it was hysterical, to be honest. But I was the first one out, so I didn't even get to throw a drink in anyone's face. And that's like my favorite thing to do.
I think it's pretty much everybody's favorite thing to do. Let's be fair. It's like one of the only rules is we're not allowed to like push or shove or anything like that. But like you guys had the free reins to do stuff that you're otherwise not allowed to do. So
yeah.
Alas. But okay, so I want to ask you, Olivia, then. So Ryan is head of household. Ryan is talking to us while we're watching the show about how he wanted you out the whole time, and he wanted you out by a back door. He explained to me in pretty good detail about why he wanted you out, sort of the same reasons you stated about your education and what you had intended to do, your marathon running and stuff. How aware were you that you were a target of Ryan's?
I, honest to God, was not aware at all. I guess I'm not very perceptive, but even during like his HOH reign, we were talking and I thought he was hinting at me as for an alliance the whole time. And then I find out later he's trying to get me out. So I, honest to God, I had no idea. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah. So it's Hamza and Andrew are the ones put up on the block by Ryan. It seems like it's kind of a consensus by everybody, and Ryan's kind of doing what the house want to do. Ali, from your perspective, Andrew, of course, is fighting really hard to flip the votes against you week 1. But at the same time, everyone is talking about how unpredictable Hamza is. So did that at all weigh in on your decision, or was the fact that Andrew was fighting so hard is something that you couldn't really like shake?
I just couldn't shake it because I saw him be genuine to my face, and I already had established so many relationships with so many other people that literally they would tell me as soon as he turned around, he was saying something else or he was pushing to get me out. And I just knew that type of person, I just didn't want in the house. I also knew that Hamza was unpredictable, but at least he was a bit more of a straight shooter. And I appreciated that in him. I also base a lot of my things based off vibes. Like I'm all about the good vibes. And I just felt like Andrew never gave me the good vibes. And I just get a little bit more of that from Hamza. Ultimately, I knew Andrew had to go. We were never going to align. We were never going to move past what had happened. And I just needed to not.
Live on your behalf, though. It was or maybe it wasn't so much of a different situation. Were you the same thing, that it's like he was going after my number 1 ally, or did you have a small little part of you that wanted to get Hamza out?
Hamza?
Yeah, at that stage, week 2.
Honestly, my radar wasn't on Hamza, which is actually so funny because then he puts me up in week 3. No, but I honestly didn't like Hamza was obviously on my radar because I knew he was a good player, but I didn't think he was like after me. So at that point, Andrew was a way bigger threat to me. You saw he tried to get me out first in that right in the kisser HOH, and then he was walking around telling people he wished he didn't put me in heaven and he doesn't trust me and all this stuff. So at that point in time, it was a clear choice to get Andrew over Hamza.
So let's move on then to week number 3. So this time Hamza is the head of household. We've seen that happen time and again where the person that is on the block becomes head of household next, and then the tables sort of turn. So Hamza is head of household. He puts up yourself and Jesse up on the block. given how often your name, Liv, popped up in the first couple weeks of the season, and given how well it looked like Jesse was connected not only with like the quote unquote showmance or flirtmance, whatever you want to call it, with Paris, he seemed really tight, and I think it was common knowledge with Derek as well and with some other people. Were you worried at all that Jesse was just too well connected and this could be your week?
Honestly, Jesse was really well connected with people on a personal level, but if I'm being frank, he wasn't really playing a game at that point, so I wasn't really worried. I had a pretty, like, the whole week, I would say I was like 80% sure the entire time that I was staying.
So, once, hypothetically speaking, if Jesse or wins the veto and uses it on himself, or if Hamza Hamza does win the veto, but if Hamza ended up using it on Jesse like he had talked about, do you still feel confident no matter who goes up that you're still in the house, Liv?
Well, in that hypothetical, if Hamza had won, I don't know if you guys saw, he was talking about actually using it on me and putting up Derek beside. But yeah, worst case scenario, if Jesse had taken himself off, or if someone had used the veto on Jesse, I would have felt a lot less confident, because at that point, I felt like everyone was starting to play a good game and had a lot more connections than he did. So if I was up against anyone else, I feel like my chances of going home was definitely greater.
We see a last-minute pitch by Jesse this week, his woke moment when he's trying to like flip the house at the very last moment. I've been a part of moments where somebody tries to flip me literally at the 11th hour, and you guys had like an 11th hour moment weeks and weeks later on. But let's get to week 3 first. Ali, when you see all these people in the room talking and stuff, are you thinking like, holy crap, what's going on? Or you're just like, they're solid, they're not flipping?
No, I thought it was funny. I already knew I knew there was possibility of him maybe flipping a couple people, like the Parises and the Maddies of the world. But I already felt very confident about the relationship we had with Erica and Johnny, and I felt very confident about the kind of like newfound respect that was going on with Kayla at the time, because at that time we were kind of mending fences, and we were saying, hey, like, let's not go at each other. Let's stick together. Let's worry about our game, not the boys' game. So I knew Kayla was very, very on board for that, and I knew Derek would kind of follow suit, even if he had to vote for Jesse. So I already felt very confident in the votes. I thought it was really funny.
One thing I want to know from each of you now, because at this point in the game, you guys had each sat on the nomination chair and had the potential to go home. So for myself in my season, one of the best ways that I was able to strengthen bonds with some of my tightest allies, like Cassandra and Tim, was the fact that we all sat on the block and were in the position to either save each other or evict each other. And you build a tremendous amount of trust. It's one thing to just have a good vibe and be talking with words and stuff and you making them feel comfortable. But when you prove it like that, that's a whole nother thing. You guys had already both been standing up on the block. After Ali, you survived that week, and then Liv survives week 3. Did that strengthen your bond at all even more, that it's like now it's actions as opposed to words? I guess I'll start with Ali.
Yeah, I mean, every day, every week, everything that happened just solidified our relationship more and more. There were many times where she would come up to me and said, okay, so-and-so just said this to me. And even just that small action of telling me that so-and-so had just said something to her, to me, that was a show of faith and a show of trust that she was putting in me. And I would reciprocate by saying, well, so-and-so just said this to me. And so it just like every day that you have game talks with other people, but we would like reconvene and tell each other, I just kept getting more and more confident in what we were doing as a duo.
Liv, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, that's the same for me also. I mean, I feel like it goes without saying that Ali and I got closer and closer as the season went on. But something I will mention that I thought was really interesting is it was pretty much unanimous because Derek voted for Jesse, but I mean, I think he knew that Jesse was leaving. It was sort of like a friend vote. And then Veronica voted for Jesse just to try to stir the pot. But other than that, everyone was very much saying, you're good, Liv, like we're good. Let's make this go somewhere. So going into week 4, I was almost like stressed out thinking about winning the HOH. So I really did not want to win that HOH because I felt like if I won and had to put someone else up when I'm in a really good spot, because I've just made friendships across the board by them saying they're keeping me safe, making all these promises to people. But I didn't expect that to happen after being put on the block. But like being put on the block was my saving grace in terms of relationships in the house, which was something weird that I didn't expect to happen.
Well, let's go straight into week number 4 then, because at the very end of that week, when we get to the WR HOH. So obviously, first off, it is Erica takes the HOH. She puts up Marin and Maddie. Veronica is put up. First off, I guess we'll start with Ali first. Did you think immediately after that whole quote unquote rogue vote that everybody made a big deal of? Did you think it was Veronica?
Oh, 100%. I knew it was Veronica the moment they shouted out what the vote was. There was zero hesitation in my mind. And watching her kind of like backpedal and just be like, this is so weird. This is so weird. Like, I knew she did it to stir the pot. I knew she was trying to be, kind of make other people. She's not a very good liar. Yeah. She like wants to be a really good liar, but she's not. Love you, V. Bless your heart. She's not a very good liar. You could just tell how agitated she was, and I had no doubt in my mind it was her.
So with that being said, once Veronica is put up on the block, I'm assuming from your perspective, Liv, it's pretty much a slam dunk that you vote to evict Veronica, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I mean, like Veronica getting backdoored that week, and then here's the thing though with the house is people are always like, oh, we're gonna weigh our options when like even a big player gets put up, like Marin next to Veronica. But everyone knows that if it's a backdoor happening, that's the right way to vote, because either that person's a huge target that needs to go, or you're gonna get in trouble with the HOH and their potential allies if you don't vote them out. So I knew it was gonna be her going.
So let's fast forward then to the double eviction, something that you guys had speculated for a long time heading up to that point. So, Liv, you said that you thought you were in a good spot and didn't want to win that HOH. So did the fact that Ryan kept getting his questions right and kept picking you, did that kind of make you like, well, I better win this because I keep getting picked and Ryan's still up there? Did that play a factor in you going for it harder?
Yes and no. It's sort of like I didn't really care if I won it or not. And then, I mean, I was the first one up as well. So I won against Ali. And then I think the person I won against next, I forget who it was, Maddie. I think she just answered wrong. So that was a fluke. And then I won against Paris. And then my win against Ryan in the end was also a fluke because we both answered at the same time, but he answered first. Yeah. And I mean, luckily against Ryan, I won. If it was anyone else, I wouldn't have cared. But obviously, after that was happening, I was like, okay, because like I told you before, I didn't know Ryan was gunning for me. And then when we're in that situation, I'm like, okay, does he like want me out or something? So then after I won, I was like, well, thank God I won. And then I put him up. And it was so funny because after like the night after, he was all mad at me for putting him up. And now I'm looking back like, well, you wanted me out week 2. So why were you even mad? But
Ali, did you guys talk about, Liv mentioned that you guys were up against each other in the very first one. Did you guys whisper or say anything like, you want this, or did it like not matter either way for you guys?
We didn't really get a chance to talk about it, to be honest with you. I think because it was the double eviction and because it's so unpredictable, I think we both kind of went in with the notion of like, don't throw this, try to win. I was going to, but she was really fast on the trigger. So better her than I suppose.
Okay, so Liv, you take home the head of household then. So at that stage, obviously, everything happens really quick in a double eviction. We all know that. We've all been involved in those before. We see you have a conversation with Johnny in the pantry area, and Johnny seems really aggressive to the fact that Maddie is not going to touch the block. Did you always intend to put up Maddie, or were you just saying that to try to get something out of Johnny, or what was the deal with that conversation?
Well, the thing was, I always had a backup plan going into everything because like you said, we knew the double was happening. So I always had a backup plan just in case, something went array or what have you, or someone makes a last minute plea to you. So I did want Maddie out and I did want to put her up. But when I talked to Johnny and he was so upset, I was like, I don't want to burn this bridge if I have a backup plan. And I mean, who really cares? I put up Ryan, and then I guess it all worked out in the end because Hamza was the better move. But
So if Marin or Ryan don't win the veto, who would have been your target? Would it have been Ryan?
well, see, here's the thing. If Marin or Ryan didn't win, I believe it was Ali, Paris, myself, and Hamza who were also playing. So other than Hamza, he would have kept it the same probably, or I guess taken Marin down, and then I would have, yeah, he would have taken Marin down. I don't know who I would have put up. Probably still Maddie because I don't want to like I said, I don't want to like get blood on my hands. I would have just had to put up Maddie,
yeah.
And then Maddie would have gone home. But anyone else like Paris, Ali, and myself, we would have taken someone down probably, and then backdoored Hamza. Still.
Okay. Yeah, so Hamza is out of the house. Hamza's evicted. People didn't want the unpredictability of Hamza. We move into week number 5, where Erica is, surprise, surprise, head of household yet again. She goes the safe route, goes with Ryan and Marin up on the block. Sort of the big talking point this week was centered around Ryan planting a seed in Paris's head that you, Ali, had that infamous comment, "I don't trust that bitch." Yeah. What, from your perspective, Ali, can you clear the air on that one? Did that comment come out of your mouth?
Yeah, I'm happy to clear the air again. No, that comment did not come out of my mouth. I think it's safe to say pretty much for most of the season that if I said something, I owned it, and I was not afraid to let you know what I was feeling.
We watched it back, and they didn't even roll clip. They didn't even like pan to you saying it. So
no, that's exactly right. Production has no recollection of it because it didn't freaking happen. It was just ludicrous, and truthfully, like, I would say if I had, like, now being game over and out of the house and everything, I would truly say if I had a moment where I was like, yeah, I think there's, like, maybe I might have said it, but I have never been so sure of anything in my life. I did not say it.
So I guess another question for you, Ali, is it's one thing to sometimes people just read into body language sometimes, and a lot of times people, I think, read into you being really animated and really angry, which is like, some people are like that if you like plant stuff that isn't true necessarily. So do you think just the way you were really coming at Ryan, even though Ryan seemed like more calm, cool, and collected, do you think that played a factor in the others being like, well, she's so mad, so she must be like lying?
Yeah, I don't really know. I think definitely some people could have taken it that way, or some people could have looked at the fact that I've been lying about other things and have been so calm and kept my composure that this one thing that simply isn't true made me like bubble over or whatever. But to be honest, obviously I do have a Latin temper and I was aggravated, but I know for a fact that that was a bit of an outburst, but that was a strategic outburst. I was really pushing for Ryan to leave that week, and the house was leaning towards getting Marin out. And I was hoping that, you know, if I kind of went at him aggressively and vocalized how much he did not have my vote and how much of a shady asshole he was, I kind of hoped that would end his game. Obviously it didn't work, but my intent was not just to call him out, it was also to sewer him and make it so that other people wanted to vote him out too.
Was it that moment, Ali, where sort of your feud with Ryan began, or did it stem from stuff from the very beginning or some other times before that?
No, there was a few moments before that, but I always had like intents of working with Ryan to a degree. I liked how much knowledge he had on the game. I could see he was really smart and strategic, somebody that I would want to work with for a period of time. It really started when he threw me under the bus week 2 during his HOH. I knew he was going after Olivia. I heard it through the grapevine. I heard that he threw me under the bus and told Jesse that I was going after Derek and Kayla. So it really started then, and then I felt like we had come over that hump a bit and that we were trying to work things out. We had a really serious one-to-one heart-to-heart conversation with me, him, and Liv. And yeah, it was right after that heart-to-heart that this all happened. So I really was aggravated and fed up, and I wanted nothing more than to just destroy his game.
So this is the very first week where it's more of a split house than it was pretty much the entire season. There was the potential of a tie with Erica casting a tiebreaker. Obviously, Erica would have kept Ryan in the house. So, Liv, from your perspective, I know you casted a vote to keep Ryan to evict Marin that week. First off, did you tell Ali that you were going to do that?
Yeah, and I told her too. I said, look, I'm not going to burn my bridges because even though I know we would prefer Ryan to leave, it's really not the end of the world if he stays, and I don't want to enemies. And also I knew that Erica was going to vote to keep Ryan regardless, so why bother? And I even said to Ali, I don't think you should do it out of spite. I think you should still just like vote to keep Ryan. But I mean, obviously she can do whatever she wants, but that was my thought process on it.
So did you ever go ahead, Ali?
Yeah, my thing, she's right. When she did tell me that, she's like, honestly, you know he's going to stay regardless of our votes, so you might as well just vote this way. And I totally got where she was coming from, but for me, I was more taking a stand and letting him know, like, I don't care that you're staying here. I want nothing to do with you, kind of thing. Because I had already vocalized aloud as well after that argument. I went downstairs and said, Marin, you have my vote this week. Fuck that guy. I can't go back on my word, because then at that point people would see that I was just moving with the house as opposed to keeping my word. So I was like, I don't care if he stays. He's not going to have my vote.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because I think there's a time and place. Everybody seems to always think like if you're don't vote on the right side of the numbers, that it's like you're in a bad spot. That's not necessarily the case all the time. I voted on the wrong side a couple times knowing that. So yeah, absolutely. So I guess another question for Liv maybe, because there was the potential of it being a tie had you voted to keep Marin in the house that week. Did you ever consider like forcing a tie just to get more blood on Erica's hands? Because she already had a gigantic target on her back, and that could have made it even bigger.
I definitely thought about creating the tie, but not to make Erica a bigger target, just because at times I felt like she was swaying to keep Ryan, and then also at times she was swaying to keep Marin. So in my head, when she was more towards keeping Marin, I would be like, okay, you know what, I'll be the tie, and then we'll just see what she does, because if there's a chance, then let's try. But at near the end, like right before votes, I knew 100,000,000% she was going to keep Ryan, so there was no point.
So we get to week number 6. Marin is out of the house. Kayla takes home the head of household. Kayla puts up Ryan along with Will. Ryan is miraculously saved that week. We see a conversation once that happens between Ali and Kayla. Ali, why were you at that point seemingly hesitant to have Kayla put up Erica in that spot?
Because Liv and I were kind of working both sides of the house. So essentially we had a thing with Dayla and Erica, but the thing with Dayla and us was stronger than the 5. And then we had Johnny and Erica on the other side. And although I knew that there wasn't 1,000% trust between Erica, Johnny, myself, and mainly with myself, they trusted Olivia more. Even though I knew there was a bit of doubt about me, I also knew that for the time being, they had intentions of staying true to our alliance. So even though I knew they were bigger targets and I needed them out sooner than later, I really would have rather see Johnny go before Erica. So it was really hard for me to say goodbye to Erica, because truly before hearing that she didn't trust me 100%, next to Olivia, she was my so Olivia was my right hand, Erica was my left hand. And I had full intentions of seeing that all the way through. So to hear that hurt, and then it made it really hard for me to, get on board with sending her home, because I didn't want to send her home.
I'm curious now, because this kind of reminds me of something that happened more so on the live feeds. From your perspective, Olivia, we heard Kayla talking about potentially putting Johnny up that week as a backdoor. Johnny was very good at reading people at that point, but I believe you had a conversation with Johnny when he got picked for the veto about like maybe it's a good idea for you to win this one. Can you sort of explain why you said that to Johnny?
So I had mentioned to Kayla that I think Johnny is a good backdoor plan, and I think some stuff transpired before the veto, because like I said, Johnny and I had this thing where we trusted each other, but we weren't always working with each other, and it was really hard to describe. But I hinted to him at the veto, like, because he was thinking maybe I'll just throw it like I don't really care, or like something like that, and I said, maybe no, I think you should go for it, because I didn't know Like at that point, I didn't know what was going to happen. And part of me was like having doubts about making him the backdoor option. And then just to expand a little on what happened with Erica, I had wished that Johnny hadn't won it at that point, because I would have, like Ali said, I would have preferred Johnny had left at that point in time as opposed to Erica. So then I was kind of regretting that I hinted that to him. But
So, how live, Ali, was that vote when Erica is put up? Did you decide right then and there when you walked in, or did you have your mind made up once Erica was put up, or like was it like it's got to be Erica? Because you guys you and Liv kind of held the power in this situation. You guys could have gone the opposite way and flipped things around.
Yeah, totally. Again, as a double eviction, you really have minutes to decide. And Kayla kind of came up to us with this plan, and Liv was kind of on board right away. And Liv getting on board right away kind of put me on board more so, but I kept feeling this like gnawing feeling, the pit of my stomach, like, is this right? Is this right? It's too soon. It's too soon. So even going into the booth, I was still hesitant, but I already knew Olivia's mind was made up. So there was no way of, going against Olivia, because it wouldn't have done it what we needed it to do, and it would have just made a bigger target on my back.
So Erica is evicted. We get some really high tension when Erica is evicted from the house. So we get into week number 7. Derek wins the head of house. So I guess before this situation, it seemed common knowledge at this point that there were 2 strong pairs: yourself, Ali, along with Liv, and then Derek and Kayla. At this stage, as the numbers start to diminish and as everyone else sees you and Ali, and then Derek and Kayla as the tightest pair, did you 4 ever think to yourselves at that point, like, let's just make it really simple and all team up and go all the way, because we're the 2, if it's not Derek and Kayla, it might be Liv and Ali. Ali, did you guys consider that?
Yeah, I mean, Kayla and Derek talked about it a lot, and we never disagreed with them. We constantly said, yeah, for sure, Final 4. Like, we pretty much said whatever we needed to say to them, but ultimately, we knew we couldn't beat them. Not that they were better than us, but just statistically speaking, they just had more. Don't laugh, Liv. Just statistically,
not that they're better than us.
It's not that they're better than us, but just statistically speaking, they had a little bit more under their belt in terms of competition. Needless to say, though, I think if either one of us would have made it to the end with either one of them, we would have won, to be honest. but yeah, we just knew we couldn't keep them intact if we wanted to go further in the game. But we needed them at the moment, so we agreed and said absolutely. And we did have their back to a degree. We definitely for a long time deterred people away from taking a shot at them. We're like, no, leave them in the house. They're a bigger target. Leave them. So for a couple of weeks, we definitely did have their back, and we were very real in aligning with them and sharing information. That was all very genuine.
So go ahead,
Alex.
That
was
another
reason that we got Erica out, because her and Johnny were pushing us so hard to take a shot at Dela or do this against Dela, or if you win, put Dela up. And we knew that Dela was important for our game. So for 2 really strong people to be pushing us into wanting us to do something for them, I just couldn't have that. We can't be like, no, because then they'll come at us. So it was easy just to get Erica out and then have one less person being like, Dela, put them up, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so week number 7, Derek, head of household. The big question mark at this point, once Johnny and Ryan are put up on the block, is the fact that Johnny stays, even though Johnny's got a really tight position he's got to not only talk to Liv and Ali on one side, but he's also got to appease the trio on the other side. Liv, did you guys ever think to yourself, I talked to Maddie about this, and Maddie said one of her biggest regrets is that she didn't try to align the stories with your guys' side. Did you, Liv, ever think like, well, are Maddie, Paris, Will, are they telling you guys this stuff too? Is Johnny telling you guys this stuff?
Honestly, at that point, I knew that Johnny was like good with them. I just didn't know to what extent. And then I think Ali, I don't know about Ali, I'll speak for myself. Well, I found out in jury how much closer they were than I thought it was. And Johnny was saying they had all these deals going on behind our backs and et cetera, which was fine for the game. But for me, it was sort of like, oh, like I thought we were closer than that. So I didn't see that happening.
Ali?
It's truly something that I've lost sleep over. And watching it back, it still kills me because Liv and I had the power that week and we very well could have sent him home. And I've literally, as a fan and as a player, I have obsessed over this week over and over and over. I have said to myself, man, if we had just sent Johnny home, Ryan would still be in there. Paris would have won HOH, but Ryan would have kept me. Even if I was a backdoor option, we would have had the numbers. I would have stayed. We would have been able to fight for the triple. Like, I've just gone over and over it in my head a million times. And I got to say, the connection that Liv is talking about between the four of us, Johnny's Angels, was so real. And I knew that we hurt him when we sent Erica home. And my intent to save him that week was really to rectify that wrong. And I was so genuine when I said, let's move forward all together in this. Even though I had plans to cut him later, I really meant it in that moment. I said, let's take care of Dela. Let's take care of this trio, and then we'll take care of each other. So I was really, really pulling for that relationship with Johnny to flourish, but obviously.
I want to ask you a couple more questions quickly here, Ali, because I know you got to run pretty soon here. But I want to know from your perspective. So we get in. Johnny makes it through that week. Ryan's evicted unanimously. So we get into the following week where Johnny's HOH. Predictably, Dela is up on the block. Derek wins the veto. How on edge were you feeling that you were? Did you have a good feeling that you were going to be the person up? And how did you still think you'd be safe even if you were put up at that point?
Honestly, I felt that because I felt good that when Johnny won HOH, because I was like, we just saved him. He knows how much we care about him. We're good. Like, we're fine. He's going to put up Dela. This is why we kept him in the house, to take a shot at Dela. Everything's going according to plan. And right around when he had that house meeting where he basically exposed everybody's game, that's when I started to worry. And I really wanted to win that veto, obviously to save myself in case of a potential replacement nominee, but also for the 5Gs. But I didn't pull it out. And it was a very moment, because I felt, again, due to Johnny's relationship being closer to Olivia than me, that if there was a replacement option, that I would be the one to go up over Olivia. I still felt comfortable that, you know, we had done such a good job at building Derek and Kayla as such an enormous threat that why would you want to take out a ding dong? Like, just take out a freaking comp beast. And I was really banking on that. But I lost control. I lost the fucking bearings or whatever at the end there. And she managed to stay. And props to her. I mean, props to her. But it was brutal.
Did you actually think when you saw Paris, Maddie, and Will with all that whispering on the couches and everything that was going on, did you think that was an act, or did you think like, man, these people are literally just like flipping a coin right now?
No, I knew they were literally struggling so bad, and it infuriated me. I wanted to shake them and squeeze them and go, are you fucking kidding me? After everything, you fucking have to be joking. But I knew in that moment when they were whispering back and forth like that, and none of them would make eye contact with me, that I was going home.
And sadly, you were evicted in that one, but not without some very kind parting words for the house guests. I believe something along the lines of, Derek and Kayla, your words don't mean shit. You do not have my jury vote. I can guarantee you that I've been holding your little secrets for so long. Did you always intend to blow them up at that spot just in case?
It's actually funny because I've watched this episode back myself, and I've seen the tweets, and I've gotten so many questions from press about this, but that comment was not directed at Derek and Kayla. My saying, your words don't mean shit, you don't get my vote in jury, that was 1000% directed at Will and Paris, because they had given me their word right before the vote that I was safe and that I wasn't going anywhere. So that was directed at them. And that I've been holding your little dirty secrets for so long. I said, Maddie, Will, and Paris talk so much crap about you, blah, blah, blah. And Will, Paris said this and this. So my whole But I think that Derek thought I was talking about them too. I was not. I was talking about Will and Paris the entire time. And my intent to blow up game was to blow up the trios game.
Liv, when when Paris and Maddie and Will are doing this whispering, did you ever feel the urge or prompted to like go over there and be like, guys, what's going on? What are you guys talking about? You guys aren't doing this, right?
Yeah.
That moment, well, listen, that moment was very weird for me because I cannot express the calmness I felt going into the ceremony because I truly thought Ali was safe. And then when I saw the whispering, if the last week of us promising them the sun and the freaking moon didn't work, I knew me walking over there was going to do shit all. I was just like, okay, here it comes. Like, I just let the pieces fall where they may. Maybe that was the wrong decision, but like, you guys just don't know how they were in the house. It doesn't matter what you say. They're so like, they just can't make up their mind. Even if you lay out a logical reason, they're just like, it goes over their head. They're just like blinders to like logic.
Yeah, and in all fairness, a lot of times in there, your mind's thinking through so many different things, and sometimes you're like, oh, I can't freak out here because I got to stay calm because if I'm too uptight and like in their face, that's going to rub them the wrong way. So there's many different scenarios that go through your mind when you're in there for sure.
You're freaking out for after.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we get to a triple eviction after that. Derek wins the head of household. Liv, I guess, after Ali is out of the house at that point, we see some heated exchanges between yourself and Will. And Will talks about, like, you don't have anybody. And you're like, well, not necessarily. How do you know that? Do you think that your best pitch at that point could have been like, yeah, I do have nobody, so why evict me?
At that point, I knew if Dela got power, Johnny and I were out of the house if we didn't win the veto, just because we're the next biggest threats to them. So I knew there was nothing I could do, but it was surprising for me to hear that Kayla was actually, I haven't watched the season past the triple. So it was weird for me to hear that Kayla was actually debating using the veto on me, which makes me feel good, I guess, but I did not even think that was an option. I knew that if Johnny and I didn't win HOH, didn't win the veto, we would be gone. So I just didn't care to pitch. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to campaign at this point. If I because Ali did that the whole week. She campaigned her face off and then they still evicted her. So I'm like, screw that.
Liv, did you think that had Johnny won the veto and taken himself off and another member of the trio goes up, that you would have still been evicted?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. If Johnny was still in the house, they would need to get me out.
Yeah.
As well as they wouldn't want me there with Johnny. No way.
Right. So you guys are both sent to the jury house. Obviously, there was a lot of heat and disdain for Derek and Kayla. I want to know, Ali, first off, if it's Derek versus Paris and Paris ends up cutting Kayla. Is the vote closer? Do you guys consider Derek as a potential vote in the same situation, but Derek's sitting there next to Paris?
For me personally, I won't speak for Olivia. For me personally, it would have been a lot closer. And I honestly, I'd have to be in the situation. But for me, it was really like impressive that Derek came into this game not knowing much of it at all and managed to latch on to someone who knew a lot about it, and was able to fly under the radar and kind of like earn the love and respect from all the people around him. And then when he needed to beast out, he did, and he knew when to turn on the charm. You should, Liv, you need to watch the episodes after the triple eviction because, oh my, the way that Derek turns on his charm to make sure that he's still Kayla's number one and that no one's getting into her ear about cutting him. I was like, he like sat on her lap, like straddled her in one episode. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And even Kayla was like, you never sit like this. And he's like, well, I do now.
Convenient.
So funny. So he just had a way. And you know, he's a West Coast boy, and I love Derek. I loved him throughout the entire thing. So it would have been a closer call, although I have said this to Paris directly. I think she and I played very, very similar games. She just beat me at my own game. So she may have still had the vote. I just think it would have been closer because I don't think Derek would have called us babies and kind of went off on us like that and pissed us off, if you will.
Liv, from your standpoint, if it's Kayla, well, it was Kayla versus Paris, but if it's in a different situation where Kayla wins the HOH and follows through on the things she was talking about so often to everybody throughout the last few weeks that she's going to cut Derek, does that change your mind at all that maybe Kayla is worthy or not?
Yeah, for sure that would have played in. It probably would have raised her ranks in my books in terms of like who deserves to win. But I'm being honest in when I say I went in totally open-minded, it would have been the same thing because I mean, as much as people, you know, you cut this person, you win this competition, someone leaves at your hands, those are all fine and dandy. But I want to hear about, you know, the nitty-gritty, what went on behind the scenes, you know, the sneaky sort of stuff. And if she still managed to say all that stuff but was a bit more gracious about it, that was the tipping point for me. It was just the speeches and the questions. If she could do it again and her answers maybe were different, maybe her speech was different, 100% I'd be willing to give her the grand prize.
So, Ali, from your perspective, did how aggressive Kayla was in her speech at the final, was your vote live, and did the way Kayla was speaking affect your decision too?
I was very much undecided when I went into finale night, like extremely. I was actually really torn. I was like, how on earth am I going to make this decision? So truth be told, her speech made my decision a lot easier. I do think she was fighting for her life, and I know Kayla better than a lot of other people know Kayla, and I know she's, like many of us, has been through it, and I think that she just has a really tough exterior, and she knows how to defend herself, and I think in that moment she went on the defensive and felt like she needed to, you know, pipe up and say why she was the better player, and she felt maybe like she was being a bit attacked because of some of the jury questions, and I understand that reaction, and so I don't fault her and I don't blame her. She never had any time to process like the rest of us did in jury. And, you know, Johnny saying, Paris, drag her through the mud. Obviously that didn't make her feel good. So she went on the defensive and she got a little bit aggressive. So I don't fault her for her reaction, but I do ultimately believe that her reaction is kind of what got her second place.
And not only that, though, it wasn't even like, you can call me a baby, whatever. But if your speech doesn't equal the answer that I'm looking for to give you that win, then I'm not going to give it to you. And that's just what happened. It had nothing to do with what she was saying. I mean, I guess it did a little, but it wasn't all based on that. It was just, I didn't hear the answers I needed to hear.
Yeah, it had to do with what she was saying in terms of the fact that it wasn't equaling to what we needed to hear in order for her to get our vote. So she did play a killer game, though. No one can take that away from her.
And she deserved, I always say 100%. It was very close. Even though we gave the win to Paris, it was very close for me. And she also deserved to win, I think.
She definitely did deserve to be in the final two. And I think she killed it throughout the entire season.
Well, lastly, I want to hear from each of you. We've all been through this experience now. It's truly like a pleasure and an honor to get to play the game that like tens of thousands of people try out for each year. Ali, from your perspective, what is one highlight, one thing that you'll remember more than anything else during your time in the house?
Yeah, it kind of makes me emotional, but I think just because I am such a huge fan of the show, it's a little bit surreal just being in there and getting the opportunity to play. And you always hear other seasons say like, these people become like my family, and they are truly the only other people that understand what the hell it is that you've just kind of undergone. And obviously I love them all so much, but there's definitely some relationships in that house that I built that I will keep for the rest of my life. And I think that's probably what I cherish the most.
Liv, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, the same answer. Like, I love every single person in there. Was definitely something I'll take away. Like, that was amazing. You could not have found better people if you searched. Like, they're all so incredible. Amazing. And I know people hate that. I'm sorry. There's no drama. I love all
What about you barfing in the sink? What about you barfing in the sink? Was that a highlight?
That was a highlight for me.
Yeah.
That was a highlight for me.
That was not a highlight for me. That was one of the worst days of my life. I felt so sick. But highlights, honestly, are doing the competitions. Even though you're nervous at times, they're so much fun to do because I love games, and you're literally like a pawn, like a player in a life-size game. That was my highlight.
Oh, me being queen. That was
yes.
When I got to wear the queen costume, it was just like what I was destined for. It was so great.
Of course, I was a peasant.
Did you see that episode real quick when I was Queen Liv and I was like, put out my hand for you to kiss? And you're like, no, you kiss my hand. You're like, no, you kiss my hand. I was like, so us. That was so good.
Good stuff. Okay, well, before on that note, before we wrap up, I'll give you guys one last chance to put in some plugs for you guys. So we'll start with Ali. Ali, for people who want to follow what is going on with Alejandra, how can they do so? With a little picture.
Yeah, so right now, if you're not already doing so, make sure you follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is at movewithali.com. I'm working on some really, really exciting things for you guys. I'm revamping my entire Move with Ali website. I'm launching, well, I already have a Move with Ali YouTube channel, but I'm working on a bunch of videos for you guys. I'm working on launching the boot camp that's coming this summer. I'm getting my
Will you run marathons?
And getting my fitness.
Will you force Liv to run marathons in your boot camp?
Yeah. Well, I hope Liv comes to visit me this summer. If not, I hope I try and visit her. But yeah, I'll have a boot camp coming. So for all things fitness, humor, and lifestyle and anything, just follow me at movewithali.com. My website and my YouTube are all linked to that.
Liv, how can people follow you?
Damn, I don't have a pitch like that.
Just do some dance moves. Move with it.
Yes.
Move with it.
I mean, my Instagram's just my name. If you want to follow me, it's just me.
It's like,
I follow you anywhere.
And my Twitter is Olivia. What is it? BBCan6. But I'm like bad at Twitter. I don't know what to tweet.
I know I'm really bad at Twitter too, but I'm trying. I'm learning. Be patient.
Yeah.
All good.
That's pretty much it.
Like Ali's got like the glitz and the glamour and the huge Vegas show, and then Liv's just like, I got a little horse here. Nay.
You can see me. You can watch me try and attempt to get in shape if you want.
Yes, follow me, bitch. I'll teach you. Oh my god, I just saw J-Lo in Vegas too. It changed my life.
Oh wait, should we tell? Like, do you guys want us to do the Amazing Race?
Do you guys want to do the Amazing?
Yes. Tweet at us if you want us to do, if the Ding Dongs should do the Amazing Race. Let us know.
We have to get in shape. I have to get in shape first.
Well, you have to come to my boot camps, bitch.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I feel like this is almost like a make or break for your guys' relationship now all of a sudden. So maybe the Amazing Race is a perfect thing because you guys have a little rift right now, and then Amazing Race either like will put a wedge through it permanently, or else you guys will be closer than ever.
We already know we'd lose, but we still want to do it.
It'll be fun. We'll just make light of it. We'll have fun.
Yes.
You just
tweet at us if you want us to be on Amazing Race. Let us know.
Let us know. And if you guys liked this podcast, feel free to give it a thumbs up in the section below. Feel free to comment, give suggestions, whatever you would like. I am hoping to get on Dela next week as well as Will. So stay tuned for that, guys. Plenty more great content in the next few weeks. You can follow everything that's going on with me at Joel BB or Joel BB 4 on Instagram. My thanks again to the Ding Dongs for taking part, and thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Toodles.
Thanks.
Bye.